Hello. All right, this is about quadratics day one. So you need these four sheets from your packet. These two you can set aside. Those will be the homework. And stop trying to photobomb here, James. What are you doing? Trying to get my Smarties? All right. So our key vocabulary for today is parabola, domain, and range. Oh my goodness, children these days. All right, so we're looking at y equals x squared. That's our normal parabola. You can place this in your calculator underneath y1. Boys, you'll get a Smarties if you're good. Get your hand out of my desk drawer. Yes. Okay, sorry about that. So you can go to y equals if you want to and type in x, and you can either do caret 2 or you can just do squared. And then you can look at your parabola like this at any time. So the graph of the quadratic function is called a parabola. A quadratic function is anything that has a 2 in the exponent, which is why y equals x squared is a quadratic. So we're just going to look at simple features of a parabola. Oh, you can learn. So we're going to identify the vertex. So the first thing I want you to see is that every parabola is going to have a vertex where it changes direction. The top point or the bottom point will be called the vertex. We want to name the vertex by identifying the x-coordinate and the y-coordinate. This one goes left 1 and up 3, so the vertex is -1, 3. This one has a vertex of 2, -1, because it goes right 2 and -1. So we also want to identify the axis of symmetry. The axis of symmetry would be where you could fold this parabola in half. So the line that goes through the vertex, in all of our cases it will be a vertical line, and we will name that line by saying it's x equals the x-coordinate of the vertex, which is -1. So the line of the axis of symmetry is a line, and we will label it the equation x equals -1. This axis of symmetry will be x equals 2. We also want to state whether the vertex is a maximum or minimum point. So the max would be when the vertex is at its highest point, as in this case. So that's the maximum. Or when the vertex is at its lowest point, which is a minimum. I spelled minimum wrong. Minimum. There we go. So now we also want to identify the domain and range. Remember that domain is left wall to right wall. And parabolas will actually continue to go all the way out to the left and all the way out to the right. So we will not have a definitive left wall or right wall. So we'll write -infinity to positive infinity. So then we could write it in those terms as well. I'm okay with either. For range, that's our floor to ceiling. This parabola will continue to go lower. So the lowest we can't define, there's really no floor. But again, we're talking about the y values. The highest y value is at its maximum value, which is 3. And it does reach it, so we put equal to. So we can put -infinity and 3 with the bracket because it's included. For over here, the domain is the same, from -infinity to positive infinity. And the range, there is a floor in this case. The lowest point, because this is a minimum, is at -1. Again, we're talking about the y values. And it goes to the ceiling of infinity. So we could also identify it as -1 infinity. Okay, flip your paper over. And we're going to plug this equation of a quadratic into our calculator. I had already had y equals x squared. So I'm going to put minus 4x. Make sure that that's not a negative. This is the negative button. This is the minus button. And put plus 7. Graphing it, we can see our parabola if our window is appropriate. And what I want to do is look at the table. So we can see the vertex is about here. So I want to go over to look at my table. Sorry, second graph. And I want to find the vertex. So when I plot this, the vertex was somewhere over here. To help us identify where the vertex is, we're going to try to get our window so that we can fit that one point that doesn't have a match in the middle. And if you notice, they have 4s, 7s, 12s. So the one point that's in the middle, that is our vertex. So I already know that the point 2, 3 will be our vertex. So when x is 2, y is, oops, I wrote y. Y is 3. Then let's identify a few more points on either side of the vertex. So I'll go up from 2 and place 1. When x is 1, y is 4. When x is 0, y is 7. Then I'll go down. When x is 3, y is 4. When x is 4, y is 7. So we can identify, notice that this one doesn't have a match. These two match, these two match. Okay, so the vertex we're going to place in the middle of our graph. Let's just plot them. 1, 4, 0, 5, 6, 7. And on either side, the cool thing about a parabola is that it has symmetry. So I know exactly if one side happens a certain way, the other side's going to happen as well on the other side of the vertex. Plot as many points as you can on the grid. If I could have plotted another one, I might have. Negative 112 would have been off of it, so I didn't need to plot it. There's my parabola. So the vertex we already identified is the point 2, 3. Axis of symmetry is a line that goes down the middle through the vertex, and it's always x equals. Now this is an equation of a line, so make sure that you have x equals whatever number it is. The y-intercept. Y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. So here's my y-axis. It crosses right there. It is the value at which x is 0. So just to keep that in mind, when x is 0, that's my y-intercept. So the y-intercept is 7. The x-intercept, there are none because it's when it is y equals 0 or when it crosses the x-axis, which never happens. So I'll write not applicable, or there's none. Okay, domain is my left wall to my right wall, and my range is my floor to my ceiling. The lowest y is 3, and it goes to the ceiling of infinity. So my minimum or maximum value, in this case it's a minimum value because it's the lowest point of the parabola, it's at the point 2, 3, so my minimum value is always my y value, so the minimum value is 3. Okay, so sometimes right now you need to make sure that you know what these words are. Vertex, x of symmetry, y-intercept, x-intercept, domain, range, max, and min. So make sure you know what those vocabulary are. What you are to do now is to practice a few of these. So do a few of these on your own. I will also show my answers, so I would pause the video right now for you to try these, and then come back and check your answers with mine. So I'm just actually going to plug this into my calculator, and I'm just going to adjust, since I don't know how to type everything else over. The only thing I had to adjust was that middle term. And then I'm going to look at my table, find the vertex. So I'm going to go, well, sometimes it's easier to look at the graph first to see where it is. The vertex will be down here, so maybe it's at 4, 5, 6 when x equals. So when I look at my table, I know I'm going to have to go down a little bit. And then what you want to have is within your table, you want to have matches. So my vertex will be right in the middle, and it'll have no other point that matches it on either side. So my vertex looks to be 4, negative 9. 4, negative 9. And then I'm going to plot the next ones. Negative 8, 6, negative 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 7, 0. So I know this one's going to be 0. And I probably can fit another one since I know it's off the table. But I'm going to go over and plot as many as I can that will fit on my grid. And you want to make sure these are as curved as possible. Make sure that at the bottom is not flat and not a V, because the V's, remember, are absolute value functions. The quadratic is always curved. So make sure that you curve it as best you can. The axis of symmetry would be the line that goes right through the middle. Remember, it's an equation. X equals 4. It crosses the y-axis. That's when x equals 0. At 7, there's my y-intercept. So my y-intercept is 7. In this case, there are 2 x-intercepts. So I'm actually going to label them in brackets because it's going to be a list. Label them in order, 1 and 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that 7? Oh, this is only 7. 1 and 7. Sorry. I was thinking it was 2 back from the right, but we went from the left. Got to count it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so the x-intercepts are those. And then my domain is negative infinity to positive infinity. My range is from, better check this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh man, this should have been 9, huh? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that one should have actually been here. The parabola should have been like this. I just thought it was a negative 10 to 10 screen. So I crossed that out. But it does go down as low as negative 9. The vertex, the y coordinate, is at negative 9. I can go up to positive infinity. It is a minimum value, and the minimum value is negative 9. I'll type in the next one. Minus 18. I'm going to look at the graph. Looks like it's all the way to the left. Oh, you know what I did? Is that I have, oh, my phone is almost dead. There we go, it's got a negative in front, be careful of that. So the parabola, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, maybe at 4. So let me look at the table at 4. And I'm going to try to match the window so that it fits in there. On either end is the matches. And it looks like my vertex is at 4, negative 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Lesson learned. I'm going to count from the middle. 5, negative 3, negative 3, 6, negative 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I know it matches over here. But I'm not going to be able to fit 11, but technically it is right there. So we curve it. X with symmetry is a line in here, so that's x equals 4. The y-intercept we can't see on here, but again, remember that it's when x equals 0. So I'm going to go to my calculator and find when x equals 0, and even though it's off the grid, the y-intercept is at negative 18. The x-intercept, ooh, it doesn't cross, so there are none. Domain is always negative infinity to infinity for this type of parabola. And the range, well, it goes as low as possible. That's my floor. It's always floor to ceiling. The ceiling of it is at negative 2. At this point, this is a maximum. The maximum value is at negative 2. Now you are ready to do your homework. So tonight's homework has graphs. Make sure you use your calculator again. There's just 4 questions just as is. Be careful on the 4th one of the negative one, and be careful on 2 of the negative one. Good job.